vile vile kumalizia ni kwamba si usawa kusema ya kwamba utarudi mchana ama umeagizwa na bunge la Senate, umeagizwa na spika kwamba njoo mchana sasa utapata nafasi ya kuweza kujibu maswali utakayoulizwa na maseneta, kwa sababu sasa ni wakati wa ile nyumba ya Senate yote kuweza kukuuliza maswali. Bwana Spika, hapo mimi naona ni jambo la kusikitisha kusema kwamba katika wale majaji waliokuwa wameketi pale kwamba hakupewa nafasi ya kujitetea na bunge la Senate. Hapo naona kidogo kulikuwa na mushkili wa hiyo uamuzi wao. Kwa hiyo ni umuhimu ikiwa bunge la Senate linaweza kuchukua hatua hiyo kuweza kujitetea vilivyo, tukipewa nafasi watakapokuwa wameenda katika hiyo koti wanaosema, ama wakienda katika koti yote, lakini koti ya rufaa ya kitengo cha juu ni kwamba bunge la Senate lazima jitetee. Hakukuwa na uagizo wa kwamba alikuwa ameomba apewe ridhaa ya milioni 50. Kwa hiyo hatuoni hata kwa nini wanaweza kuchaji, ama ilikuwa vipi mpaka wakafika hiyo milioni 50 ya kwamba Senate iweze kulipa katika hiyo kesi iliyokuwa ndani ya koti. Kwa hiyo sisi tunasema hiyo kesi tuko na nafasi nzuri kama bunge la Senate kuweza kujitetea, na hata wananchi wenyewe waliona wazi kabisa kwamba bunge la Senate halikupewa nafasi ya kumuuliza maswali kwa sababu yeye mwenyewe hakuweko wakati wa mchana. Iliibuka tu baadaye kwamba alikuwa ameenda katika hospitali inayoitwa Karen, na halafu baadaye baada ya miaka miwili daktari wake anaandika ile tunaita affidavit ama maono ya haki akisema kwamba pengine alikuwa ni mgonjwa. Lakini sisi hatukuletewa karatasi yoyote ya kuambiwa kwamba yeye ni mgonjwa. Kwa hiyo kama Senate haikuambiwa yeye ni mgonjwa, itakuwaje Senate iweze kupigwa faini? Kwa hiyo bwana Spika, mimi naona uamuzi uliotolewa na hiyo koti ya hao majaji watatu ulikuwa si wa haki na inafaa utupiliwe mbali katika koti ya juu zaidi. Asante bwana Spika.
Now, honorable senators, this was just a communication, not a source of debate. I will allow maybe 2 or more, but keep it under 3 minutes. Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak strongly on your communication because there is an attempt in this country for certain people, irrespective of their status in society or the offices they hold, to belittle the role of institutions. Mr. Speaker, if we allow Parliament, and Senate in particular, to be challenged in the manner that the judges did, we will be weakening Parliament, and there might be a deliberate attempt, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that the powers where we sit as a trial chamber that maybe do not please the people who practice in the courts should be removed from the institution of Parliament so that it remains there preserved. Mr. Speaker, I want to agree with you that we must appeal. But Mr. Speaker, I have heard you. I want to request that you consider also factoring in the appeal what Justice, allow me to quote, what Justice Anthony Mrima said himself, without being prompted by the Council of the Senate. Mrima said, it must be emphasized that the Senate is not a mere conveyor belt for matters originating from the National Assembly or any other entity. He went on and added that it is a revered house vested with autonomy and empowered to make decisions by way of resolution, and therefore the Senate retains the discretion to determine whether to accept any motion or petition for further deliberation. He must be reminded that when he was thinking from Senior Counsel Paul Muthui that his client had fallen ill, how, without evidence, did he expect the Senate, with the kind of discretion that he has?
1 minute, you conclude.
In conclusion, without that, for us to then agree with them, are they saying if somebody facing charges of robbery with violence flashes and dashes out of court, and his lawyers say, we don't know where he is, we don't know where he's going, then the judge immediately says that we discontinue the proceedings? No, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have gone to school properly. The purpose of university education is for you to have organized thinking, critical thinking, the capacity, Mr. Speaker, to see the difference between right and wrong. The judges were wrong yesterday on this one. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Gachagua.
Mr. Speaker, in many legal systems, a jury does not have to justify the decision that it has made. A jury does not have to explain itself. And so as a House, we sat as a jury. We should not try to justify the decision that we made, because the decision that we made was in line with the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I heard some people say yesterday that yesterday was a funeral of the Republic of Kenya, the funeral of the Constitution. I want to tell them yesterday perhaps was the birthday of the Republic of Kenya and the birthday of the Constitution. Because if this matter goes to the Court of Appeal, goes all the way to the Supreme Court, it will help us address some things that have remained outstanding for long. The issue of impeachment processes, the issue of public participation, the issue of Chapter 6. Mr. Speaker, I would be happy if the Court of Appeal or even the Supreme Court could be moved at certain points in time to expand the scope, the limitation on holding of public office on account of violation of Chapter 6 to go beyond persons who have been impeached and to perhaps include persons who have been indicted by the Auditor General and other institutions like the EACC. Mr. Speaker, I fully support your decision to appeal that particular matter. And Mr. Speaker, if there was a problem in terms of raising the 50 million, that is in case you are not successful in appeal, I want to inform the House that the Public Accounts Committee has issued fines of 500,000 shillings to 20 governors. So we'll be able to raise at least 10 million shillings. But, Mr. Speaker, I do hope that we shall not get into it. But though, Mr. Speaker, a fundamental observation that I saw yesterday in court is that members of this House who sat as jurors, who participated in the process, would go to court and would go to court to defend or to represent positions against the Senate. Mr. Speaker, there needs to be some hygiene. We must decide whether we want to be senators or we want to be litigants out there challenging decisions of the Senate. Mr. Speaker, once you have sat as part of the jury in this House, it would appear to be out of order for you to go out there and say that you agree with the judges that there was no due process, there was no fairness in the Senate. That is a matter that must be dealt with. And Mr. Speaker, the Constitution is clear on state officers taking up other paid jobs. Those are things we must look at. But, Mr. Speaker, I am happy that the courts made that decision. Let's allow the Court of Appeal to deal with the remaining issues, and let's also accept that no institution is infallible. Let's accept that we can make decisions, and anyone aggrieved can go to court, and anyone aggrieved at the High Court can go to the other levels. But I hope that this then marks the...
Senator Mungatano.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Paul Muthui was behind me here. I was seated very closely to him when he told us a ridiculous thing that he does not know where his client has gone. And Mr. Speaker, in the same breath, Paul Mwite was telling us he needs time. We gave him time as a Senate to go and look for his client. He came back and said he does not know where his client is. And Paul Mwite is a senior counsel, Mr. Speaker. He used to be chairman of our law society when we were younger and in active practice. So, Mr. Speaker, we found this extremely ridiculous. There is no way that we can reward misbehavior in court proceedings. We cannot reward that, Mr. Speaker. I fully support, Mr. Speaker, that we should file an appeal in proceedings, whether they are quasi-judicial or they are proper judicial. If you choose to run away from those proceedings, you forfeit your rights. You forfeit them by choice. And Mr. Speaker, the videos are all here. We must not create the impressions amongst Kenyans that Mr. Gachagua's rights were violated. There was no violation. He chose to run away. That's a fact. He ran away, didn't tell his lawyers, didn't tell anybody, and we must tell the truth as it is. He knew that he was coming for cross-examination. When he was saying his case, it was okay. But when he knew that you are going to ask about the family affairs, ask about the violations that were being complained of within the family, he knew, Mr. Speaker, and he ran away. He ran away from this court, Mr. Speaker. He ran away. He should not tell Kenyans or the court tell us that we didn't give him a chance. He simply disappeared. And the court must be fair to this Senate. This Senate gave him all the opportunities, Mr. Speaker. We must appeal these decisions, and Kenyans must be told the truth. Possibly, Mr. Speaker, these clips must be replayed on KBC or any other channel so that Kenyans can know the truth. The judges were totally wrong on this one, and they must be told on their faces. They were wrong. You cannot, even them, if an accused person runs away from your court, you don't stop proceedings. You proceed because he chose to forfeit his right.
Senator Wambo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I walked in and my neighbor, the senator for Tana River, was very agitated about some allegations he's making on the floor. Mr. Speaker, I'm here to just put the record straight. What is good for the goose is equally good for the gander. We had an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to process the impeachment of the former Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, and by a majority vote, the impeachment went through. The courts were given an opportunity to exercise their constitutional duty and mandate to look into the process that this August House and the National Assembly went through and determine whether the process was fair or not fair. So, Speaker, when I listen to debate across the country today, and because we don't live in isolation, we live in a society. The courts have made a ruling. They have said, the Speaker, that the constitutional right of the former Deputy President to a fair trial was breached. The Speaker, that's where we are today. there will be opportunity for lawyers from both sides of the argument to appeal. But as a speaker, as a layman, I always speak as a layman. I'm not a lawyer, and in one of the forums last night, the speaker, I made this note, that as a layman, one who is not schooled in law, I fail to understand, I have tried to understand, I fail to understand, the speaker, how a process that a court declares to have been flawed can produce a legitimate outcome. That is the speaker, and I think that's going to be a matter for the Court of Appeal if this matter goes there.
Senator Wambua, maybe I assist you. Your colleagues are reacting to a communication that I've made. Are you privy to the contents of that communication? Okay, then react to the communication. We are not reacting to the entire judgment, just my communication.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is what I will say about the communication. We will also appeal the decision.
1 more minute, Honorable Senator.
We will appeal to the Court of Appeal, the Speaker, and that we should, because the right that we have. And if that appeal is upheld, then the Senate will have saved that 50 million Kenya shillings. But the Speaker, even as we do that, and allow me to say this, even as we do that, this must be a constant reminder to us that whatever it is that we do, we are not the final authority. The things that we do today, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, they will return to us, and a judgment will be passed by other people about our own actions. The Speaker, I submit.
Senator Wambua, just do like what Senator Muthat has done, getting a copy of the communication, because clearly you are not privy to the contents of that communication. Senator Chiranke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and thank you for communicating on this life matter, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yesterday we saw the judgment of the High Court, and I want to agree with the House that we do appeal, because as somebody has said, Mr. Speaker, is jury in any proceeding are not subjected to be interrogated, Mr. Speaker. 50 million is a lot for the Senate, Mr. Speaker, and we did our part. I am happy, Mr. Speaker, that, and I know we raised in our submission, that the doctrine of separation of powers must be respected at all given time, Mr. Speaker. And I saw the facts. I want to advise my colleagues, is what we call re ipsa loquita. Speaks for itself. And when I saw Lady Justice Mugambi, who taught me, Mr. Speaker, that's why I'm a serious lawyer of serious pedigree, said very well, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, said with a lot of certainty that the Senate operates on doctrine of separation of powers, Mr. Speaker, and the work we do under Article 125 on the work of the committees and the standing order, as per standing order number 78, and under Article 145 of the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker, we did our part as a Senate, and we will not allow us to be fined. I don't agree with the entirety of the judgment of the High Court, Mr. Speaker. I agree on the part where they agreed with us that the Deputy President was validly impeached as the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, even let us assume, I was shocked when the court said that Dr. Kigonyo's affidavit did not have a probative value. And then they went ahead and disregarded that. How can we operate as a House when the former impeached Deputy President ran away, literally? Does it mean we needed to stop? He knew we wanted to grill him, Mr. Speaker. He knew. He had the opportunity, Mr. Speaker, under our standing order number 78. You can either appear by person or by the advocate. Senior counsel Muthui was seated here. He didn't know where his client was, Mr. Speaker. And we know members of this House, which I am privy to, went and told him, run away, because we were going to fire and grill you and impeach you, Mr. Speaker, for violating the Constitution. And I can name names, Mr. Speaker, like the acting DCP SG was the one advising him to run away, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we must stand our ground. And the High Court, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Fernandez, you cannot impute improper motive to your colleagues. Kindly withdraw.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw and I proceed. Mr. Speaker, that is why I'm saying we gave opportunity, Mr. Speaker. And in fact, I was standing order so that Kenyans can understand. Because I saw standing order number 78. You can neither appear.
Senator Wakili Sige.
Mr. Speaker, I want to most sincerely thank you for the communication that you have made this afternoon, and for a very important reason. The facts ought to be made clear, because it's a bit absurd for the judges yesterday to say on the one hand that this House is independent in terms of procedure on how it deals with matters before it. It went ahead to pronounce itself that our standing orders are also constitutional, and further confirmed that indeed we were working within certain constitutional timelines and we are in charge of our program. It does not then make sense again, Mr. Speaker, for the same judges to say that having complied with what they said, our independence, our mandate, our constitutional timelines, that having a client who runs away before the House constitutes an unfair hearing. I'm happy that you've made the communication that we as a House must appeal that decision. And, Mr. Speaker, as already been submitted by the rest of the senators here, it is absurd for them to say that the client who disappeared, whose lawyer could not even tell where he was not given an opportunity to be heard. And therefore, as a House, having made that decision, I believe that we should be allowed to do it. And Mr. Speaker, granting that adjournment, acting as a quasi-judicial institution, is the discretion of this House. Let's forget for a moment even that we didn't have to comply with the standing orders or the constitutional dictates, which of course we could not. It is the discretion of this House, and therefore we were in our right place and footing to decide as to how to proceed and prosecute the impeachment proceedings that were before this House. And therefore, I fail to understand the basis upon which a grant of damages worth 50 million, which was not asked for by the client again, could be slapped on the House. And despite the fact that we agree in part of the judgment, this particular finding on the fair hearing, Mr. Speaker, cannot stand, and I'm happy that the House will proceed to defend the position that it took. I thank you.
Senator Oburu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am equally surprised with the court decision to impose a fine of 50 million shillings on the Senate, when on the other hand, the same court said the Senate was right and the Senate rightly impeached Gachagua according to the Constitution. We followed the Constitution and we impeached him according to the Constitution. And Mr. Speaker, when we were here, all of us were here, when the lawyer himself told us that he did not know where his client was. Now, if he didn't know, then, Mr. Speaker, how could we know as a Senate? How could we know? We did not know also, Mr. Speaker. So we did not know where he was. Now, whatever was brought later on that he was in hospital was an afterthought. And that afterthought, Mr. Speaker, cannot be used to impose a fine on us when we acted constitutionally, and the court has said so. And they have impeached him. Mr. Speaker, it is a contradiction. To me, it is a contradiction, Mr. Speaker. How could you impeach somebody for having breached the Constitution, and therefore the Senate was right. And on the other hand, Mr. Speaker, you impose a big fine. Mr. Speaker, I urge you to appeal. Mr. Speaker, you do the appeal and ensure that the court, our Senate does not pay this 50 million. Mr. Speaker, where do we get 50 million when we are struggling in our steering committee of Parliament? Yeah, we are struggling to get money even to travel locally. So where do we get 50 million? We are poor. If it was with the Assembly, with the National Assembly, perhaps they would be able to pay. But for us, we are not going to pay, and we are also right not to pay, Mr. Speaker. We are going to appeal. We are lawful. We follow the law. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I hope that this kind of judgment will not continue in our country.
Senator Okiya Omtata.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this important issue. First of all, I also thank the Speaker for having moved this motion to have us discuss this issue. And from where I sit, I think it's an issue that does not call for a knee-jerk reaction. It's an issue that calls for reflection and meditation. Because impeachment is a constitutional process. And in the Constitution, Article 150 deals with the removal of the Deputy President. When you look at Article 150, Clause 2, it says the provisions of Articles 144, that's removal on the basis of health, and 145, the impeachment, relating to the removal of the President shall apply with necessary modifications to the removal of the Deputy President. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like us to take lessons from the judgment instead of condemning it. Because when I look at it, and I'm still convinced, even from the day this impeachment came here, that this House was not prepared for the impeachment of a Deputy President. I say so because we did not have that law that would modify the impeachment of the President to apply to the Deputy President. And that, for me, trying somebody without a law, to me, amounts to a violation of their rights. I don't even find a contradiction in the finding of the court that there was a violation of the rights, given the court's own reasoning, which our Speaker aptly captures here, where it says that it's like when you get somebody has been executed, and you determine that the person was wrongfully executed, that may not restore the person back to life. That's the argument I'm seeing the court say here. And this particular quotation that we find that His Excellency Gachagua's rights were infringed when the Senate declined to allow an adjournment. This violation constitutes both a vindication of his rights and a recognition of the constitutional infirmity in the process that does not undo the impeachment itself, given the finality of Article 145, Clause 7. So, Mr. Speaker, to me, I strongly believe that rules of procedure should benefit an accused person. And given that this gentleman, His Excellency Mr. Gachagua, had requested for an adjournment. This House had the capacity to grant adjournment.
Your time is up, Senator Okiom Tata. Senator Muthui Sogola.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the communication you have just read this afternoon, that this House must appeal. And Honorable Speaker, even with a lay mind, as my leader, Senator Wambua stated, that is lay to the law, I accept that, but he has eyes and he has ears. And Honorable Speaker, from where I'm seated, I was able to see Senior Counsel Paul Muthui, where he was on that day. A number of you maybe had their backs turned to him. And I listened and watched as Senior Counsel representing the former Deputy President say that he did not know where his client was, Honorable Speaker. So, as a Senate, how would we have known where his client was? Honorable Speaker, even in basic absences in schools by pupils and students that are seated here, when they absent themselves from school and say they went to hostels, the administration always expects them to take their books from hostel where they were treated. And I remember in our long history in schools, we would take those exercises books that as evidence that we were in hostel. So if that can be done in schools and in other institutions, why was it difficult for the representative of the former Deputy President to bring evidence to this House that he was unwell, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, we are paid to sit here by Kenyans. We don't sit here for free. We earn a living from the taxpayers. And even the 50 million that we are expected to use to pay the former Deputy President is taxpayers' money. So Kenyans cannot be taxed twice by paying senators listening to the Deputy President who yes, I accept.
Senator Beatrice, the Speaker has not granted Senator Cherargei the opportunity to inform you. So you proceed to conclude because your time is running out.
Honorable Speaker, what I'm saying...
Hold your information.
Honorable Speaker, what I'm saying is that Kenyans cannot be taxed twice to pay for a criminal who ran away from Parliament. That we are senators, we are seated here listening to him. We are paid for that work. And then the same Kenyans' money would be used to pay him the cost of 50 million. I therefore support your communication, and I end by saying that it was right for the Senate to choose the plenary because then it was open for everybody. Everybody saw Muthui here saying.
Thank you, Senator Muthui Sogola. Senator Wakoli.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa nafasi hii ili kuchangia kuhusiana na mwelekeo ambao tumepewa kuhusiana na mwelekeo wa koti. Mheshimiwa Spika, tuliona hapa mawakili shupavu, mawakili waliobobea katika kutetea washukiwa sugu. Mheshimiwa Spika, katika historia ya Kenya tumeona mshukiwa sugu ambaye stakabadhi zake zilikuwa hapa na Wakenya tulikuwa tunabukua vitabu tukiduaa tukishangaa. Mheshimiwa Spika, na ni mara ya kwanza kuona mshukiwa mkuu anatoweka kutoka maeneo ya kesi na mawakili wake pia wameshangaa. Familia yake haijui mweleze nani. Maafisa wa polisi wanaomlinda wamezama. Mheshimiwa Spika, nashangaa sana. Kenya hii ni nchi ya ajabu sana. Mpaka Senate linashtakiwa, tunachochewa, hata baada ya kumngatua tunaambiwa tumlipe pesa kama dawa ya brufen. Yaani augue polepole. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni jambo la kushangaza sana, na inadhihirika wazi kwamba makosa ya huyu shukiwa sugu yalikuwa makosa makubwa sana.
Mimi naomba Wakenya, stakabadhi ziko wazi. Kando na kudai tu kumpa haki, jumba la Seneti, Mheshimiwa Spika, tukubali hizi nakala zilizoletwa hapa bunge na madai na ushahidi, tuwape Wakenya basi. Tuwape Wakenya, weke kwa magazeti. Ndio wajue hata tulikuwa na moyo wa utu. Yaani tumzibe uchi, tufunike uchi wake tu, lakini aende. Na wale ambao wako naye katika koti hawajui wanatembea na nani. Yule ni mnyama mwitu ambaye amevaa ngozi ya kondoo, Mheshimiwa Spika. So sisi kama jumba la Senate tutasimama imara. Naomba nimruhusu ndugu yangu
Senator Okoli, do you want to be informed by the senator from Nandi?
Huyu ni wakili shupavu kupambana na wale sugu, Mheshimiwa Spika.
Very well, Senator Cherargei.
Mr. Speaker, on a point of information, this is a country where a member of parliament abducted themselves. So when the former impeached deputy president ran away, he was borrowing from a classic book of where a sitting member of parliament self-abducted himself. So we were worried with such behaviors, Mr. Speaker. I wish to inform my brother Omwami, Senator Wakoli.
Senator Wakoli, conclude.
Ni bunge la kitaifa ambalo wabunge wanajiteka nyara, na katika maeneo ya utekaji nyara
Give him 30 seconds to conclude.
Mashukiwa wanajiteka nyara, wanaita vyombo vya habari, wanatoa hotuba katika misitu, katika hospitali. Na huyu wetu Mheshimiwa Spika, nashangaa sana. Ati naibu wa rais, namuombea Mheshimiwa Rais afya nzuri, aliumia sana kuongoza nchi na sugu kama huyu, Mheshimiwa Spika. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Hamida Kibwana.
Bwana Spika, asante kwa kunipa nafasi. Hata mimi nataka kuunga mkono mawasiliano ya Bwana Spika. Kusema kweli tunaheshimu maamuzi ya mahakama, lakini hatukubali ya kuwa former rais deputy president Gachagua hakupewa nafasi na seneti. Kusema kweli tulivumilia sana masaa hapa na tukawa waungwana kuweza kumsikiza. Lakini nafikiria aliona atafanya ile inaitwa kipindi. Na hiyo kipindi kwa slang wanaita kipindre. Akatufanyia kipindi na ili kutufanya sisi wajinga. Sisi tukakubaliana nayo na mambo yakaisha, lakini leo tunashangaa sisi baada ya kuwa waungwana wavumilivu, haya mambo yanarudi kwetu. Na ile nashangaa Bwana Spika ni kuwa mahakama makuu yenyewe imethibitisha kwa mchakato ule uliofanywa hapa seneti uliidhinishwa na uamuzi wa seneti kumuondoa ofisini na ukawa wa halali. Sasa je, itakuwaje tumetupiwa tena sisi ya kuwa tuweze kumlipa sisi faini hali mtu mwenyewe aliweza kufanya mambo yake. Kwa hivyo mimi naunga mkono hiyo mawasiliano na hiyo faini. Nitaweza kusema kweli kama seneti hatufai kulipa sisi fine. Manake yeye mwenyewe aliweza kufanya mambo yake, na pia ilikuwa ni aibu kwa mawakili wake. Mawakili wake wenyewe walishangaa, na kama vile Senator Cherargei anasema kama kuna watu hapa waliweza kumadvise, ilikuwa sio advice nzuri ya yeye kufanya vile alifanya. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, mimi naunga mkono mawasiliano ya Spika ya kuwa hiyo fine si ya kwetu, na ilithibitishwa kuwa sisi chochote kile kiliendelea seneti ilikuwa ni cha halali. Kwa hivyo itakuwaje ya halali alafu sasa ya haramu sisi tulipe sisi hiyo ya haramu ya 50,000? Tunakataa nayo Bwana Spika, na yangu ni kusema tuendelee mbele, tuweze kuappeal, tuweze kukata rufaa ili hayo mambo yaweze kusikizwa vizuri. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Hamida, it is 50 million, not 50,000, and that is correct.
Milioni 50 Bwana Spika. Hiyo ni pesa milioni 50. Haiwezekani. Asante Bwana Spika.
Now, honorable senators, that brings us to an end to your comments on the communication that came from the Speaker. And we shall, of course, as directed by that communication, undertake the appropriate steps to make sure that we protect the dignity, sanctity, and the authority of this House by preferring an appeal against that particular decision. Nonetheless, we will resume the order paper for today. And before the communication, we were dealing with, I believe, order number 23. Clerk, you could call for the resumption of a debate on the motion under Standing Order 23.
Order number 23, motion, consideration of the report of the Mediation Committee on the Food and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill, National Assembly Bills, and number 21 of 2023.
Just hold, Senator Wakoli. The Speaker will guide you shortly. Very well. Senator, I see from my dashboard there are requests to contribute to this motion. I have Senator Mariam, who is not in the chamber, Senator Beatrice Ogola. Okay, you seconded the motion. Very well. Then, Honorable Senators, there be Senator Wakoli. Don't tempt the Speaker to take action against use of mobile phones.
Our good esteemed Speaker, thank you for your good heart of forgiveness. I hereby seek your indulgence. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 663, I request that I say that I have heard the concerns of honorable members, and I want to agree that county government are an integral part of ensuring that devolution is meeting the expected outcome to our people. This bill, Honorable Speaker, has space, has room to ensure that the aspirations of the bill are met and that county governments continue to play the role that they are supposed to play. Honorable Speaker, this bill will equally transit to the delegation, the team, the committee that deals with the delegated rules, regulations, and laws, Honorable Speaker. And this is where the rubber meets the road, where the fine-tuning of the various aspects of this bill will be done, and thereafter cascaded down to county governments, the way we had at the national level the Public Service Commission, and which inducted and trained the public service boards at the county level to continue doing the professional work. So I want to encourage members that all is not lost, and this is a new practice in this country where various arms of government are coming together to ensure we meet an expected outcome. And therefore, by that doing, the county governments will be roped in, will be invited, and we will walk the journey with them as Senate to ensure that this bill speaks to the needs, expectations, and the demands of the labor, of the market, international market, and the local market. Our members, honorable members, should know that as the Committee of Agriculture, we have always invited KEFIS, we have invited the Minister of Health to look at the poisonous food potatoes in Rift Valley, to look at the problem of maize in your county, Honorable Speaker, and it showed very clearly that unless these arms of government in the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Trade come together, synergize, and polish legislation, we will always limp and run in the dark. And therefore, this bill provides an opportunity for all these arms to come and polish their act and make it practicable to the people so that the people do not subscribe and get permits everywhere. Because you understand, Honorable Speaker, some of the governors are overtaxing our people. Their so-called kanjos are everywhere collecting money, but the people are not seeing the value. So this institution, once organized properly, will have its replicas at the county level, but they have their mother body that will always guide and ensure that as devolution is strengthened and empowered, the institutions will equally do the same. And therefore, pursuant to Standing Order 63, I request that we're putting the question should be deferred, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Wakoli, it's 66-3. If I heard you right, you said 63. It should be
663.
Standing Order 66-3.
Yes, 66-3.
Very well. Pass one to the provisions of Standing Order 66-3. Putting of the question is hereby deferred to the next sitting. Now, Honorable Senators, before we move to the next order, I will proceed to arrange for the convenience of the business of the House today. And the rearrangement of the order for today takes us to order number 30. Clerk, call out order number 30.
Order number 30, motion, report of the Standing Committee on Energy on inquiry into the shortage of smart energy meters in Kenya and the potential for their local manufacturing.
Honorable Senators, this is to the Chairperson, Standing Committee on Energy, Senator Kisang. Proceed to move the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee on Energy on inquiry into shortage of smart energy meters in Kenya and the potential for the local manufacturing laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 11 June 2025, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to its mandate under Standing Order 228, subsection 3, to investigate, inquire into, and report on all matters relating to the mandate, management, activities, administration, and operations of its assigned ministries and departments, the Standing Committee on Energy at its sitting held in October 2023 resolved to initiate an inquiry into the ongoing shortage of smart energy meters in Kenya and the visibility of promoting local manufacturing of these devices, Honorable Speaker. This decision followed serious concerns raised by the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority, PPRA, regarding alleged irregularities in the award of Kenya shillings 2.9 billion smart meters tender to MS Alay Bari Limited, which had been recommended by the State Department for Energy, raising questions on transparency, competitiveness, and adherence to the Public Procurement and Disposal Act of 2015. Honorable Speaker, the committee also took note of structural challenges in the metering sector, including the absence of clear standards, regulatory frameworks for smart meters, high borrowing costs for potential local manufacturers, and the proliferation of counterfeit meters in the market, all of which undermine reliability, consumer protection, and the country's broader energy sector reform agenda, Honorable Speaker. Additionally, the committee was concerned about the use of framework agreements under Section 114 of the Public Procurement and Disposal Act, which, if not properly designed, Honorable Speaker, and implemented, may be used in a manner that weakens competitive procurement and reduces transparency in large-scale meter acquisitions, which can lead into corruption, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in this regard, the inquiry was guided by 4 key issues. One, to interrogate the procurement process surrounding the award of the smart meter tender to Ave Barry Limited, to assess compliance with the Public Procurement and Disposal Act of 2015. 3, to examine the visibility and viability of promoting local manufacturing of smart energy meters. And this will help in creating employment opportunities for our youth, Honorable Speaker. And also to propose strategic policy measures to reform KPLC procurement systems and strengthen regulatory oversight for transparency, accountability, and efficiency in the energy sector. Honorable Speaker, accordingly, the committee held several sittings with key stakeholders, including the Principal Secretary for Public Works through the Supplies Branch, because they cited a section of the Supplies Branch to give this particular company the tender to supply smart meters, Honorable Speaker, without going through procurement process. And this is an old law of 1952. Kenya Power and Lighting Company, the African Smart Meters Association, and the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and further received written submissions from Dedan Kimathi University of Technology. Honorable Speaker, the committee further noted a framework agreement was adopted for a tender valued at approximately 2.9 billion, implemented through a call-off orders with units of 9,000 Kenya shillings 9,150 for single-phase meters and 15,890 for three-phase meters, culminating in the supply of over 320,000 meters between October 2023 and February 2024. Honorable Speaker, on the question of local manufacturing, the committee observed that Kenya stands at the strategic point where there is emerging assembly capacity and strong interest from local industry, the absence of comprehensive regulatory framework, and approved technical standards by the Energy and Regulatory Authority, PPRA. So this is where we are saying there are some caps in terms of setting up standards to assist the local manufacturers to manufacture, because it will be of benefit if we use local manufacturers to supply smart meters to Kenya Power. Honorable Speaker, the committee also noted that the high capital cost associated with end-to-end smart meter manufacturing, coupled with elevated borrowing costs, have made it difficult for local firms to compete with imported products, thereby limiting technology transfer, local value addition, and job creation in the energy technology value chain. Honorable Speaker, in view of these findings, the committee also made far-reaching recommendations aimed at restoring integrity in smart meter procurement and catalyzing a viable local manufacturing ecosystem. This includes requiring KPLC to revert smart meter procurement to its internal procurement and supply chain department in strict compliance with the law, and mandating IBRA to establish and publish robust pre-qualification framework for smart meter supplies anchored on quality, technical capacity, and local content. Honorable Speaker, the committee further recommends that KPLC should transition towards a decentralized smart meter acquisition model, allowing customers to procure meters from IBRA-approved suppliers. Honorable Speaker, we are saying when you are putting up a house and you do wiring, you get an electrician who is already certified by KPLC. You should be able to go to any shop, you can go to any hardware. As you buy your other electrical issues, you can also buy a meter. So that, we don't have to get expensive meters from Kenya Power. It takes time. Sometimes, Honorable Speaker, customers wait for ages. When REREC does last mile connectivity in our rural constituencies, Honorable Speaker, they wait even for 6 to 10, even only, Honorable Speaker, before the energize because of lack of meters. So, but if this one is decentralized and liberalized, it will be easy for consumers to buy meters from any shop, Honorable Speaker, so long as the standards have been set and certified by IBRA, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the committee also further recommends that KPLC should transition, as I had said, to decentralized meter acquisition model, allowing customers to procure meters from IVRA-approved suppliers with installation by licensed technicians and verification by Kenya Power, thereby promoting competition, widening market participation, reducing single buyers risk, and also eventually reduce the cost. Because if there's competition, basically prices will come down. To support local manufacturing and industrial development, the committee proposes that the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, IBRA, and the National Treasury put in place clear national standards, targeted initiatives, and financing instruments to move the country from meter assembly to full-scale manufacturing in partnership with universities and technical institutions as centers of research, innovation, and skills development. Honorable Speaker, we visited several farms that were doing assembly of smart meters. But you'll realize, Honorable Speaker, these particular companies, they were basically importing almost everything from China, from Europe, and then they just come and assemble. So basically there's no manufacturing that's taking place. They just coming to put these things together and sell. But we are saying we need to support them so that the raw materials, it can be manufactured here in Kenya. They do manufacturing itself, and eventually this will boost the economy. It will reduce prices. It will create a lot of employment for our youth, and then eventually it will spur the economic growth of this country. Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, this report provides a timely roadmap to address the immediate smart meter shortage, correct weaknesses in procurement practice, and lay the foundation for competitive, locally anchored smart metering industry that supports Kenya's energy transition and digital economy. Honorable Speaker, this is very important and it's timely because with the affordable houses that are coming up, Honorable Speaker, we will need so many meters. We need to energize and supply power to very many homes. And this will not be possible if we don't encourage locally manufactured smart meters, Honorable Speaker. And this will also help Kenya Power. They don't have to go to the homes to read the meters. Basically, they'll be able to disconnect automatically from the offices, reconnect automatically when the customers pay, or use also the tokens, where basically you buy just like airtime that we buy from our phones. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request my colleague, able Senator Beatrice Okola, to second the motion.
Senator Beatrice Ogola is to second the motion.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to second this motion on the report of the Standing Committee of Energy on the inquiry into the shortage of smart meters, energy meters. Honorable Speaker, all of us in our communities and with the public deal with the issue of shortage of meters. And this shortage, Honorable Speaker, has led to a number of harassment of members of the public. I frequently see a number of small businesses, people running here and there because of this shortage of meters. And one wonders, Honorable Speaker, what happens? Because at some other time, it becomes criminal when a number of people are arrested by the KPLC policing unit, once because they have meters that don't belong to them, and one wonders because a number of these people have no knowledge of even how to fix some of these meters or even where they get them from. And so a number of, we have a lot of fraud cases, Honorable Speaker. Just the last other week I was at home and a young man comes running to me that they have been arrested and it is issues involving meters. And Honorable Speaker, A number of recommendations that have been given in this report is a cure to a number of those challenges that I've just referred to. Honorable Speaker, as I second this motion, I want to lay emphasis on what the movers indicated on local manufacturing. Honorable Speaker, in this country, we used to have something called Agenda 4, and manufacturing was critical to the Agenda 4 in this republic, coupled with housing that His Excellency, the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, is moving to another level, and Kenyans, including the doubting Kenyans, can see the houses physically. And soon, Kenyans, if organized properly, will be living in dignity, including a number of job seekers who still may not have enough money to rent houses when they leave colleges. Honorable Speaker, the issue of locking that we have to look at, and of course which has been mentioned, is the issue of putting into place clear standards when we promote local manufacturing. There must be standards that must be met. And then we have also to put incentives that will motivate our people into the manufacturing space. And of course, there's been a mention of financing mechanism. Honorable Speaker, this report addresses the issue of integrity too. Of course, the report deals with a procurement issue that was there. And Honorable Speaker, this was a procurement of a tender to the tune of 2.9 billion. Honorable Speaker, by this committee coming up with this report, they're addressing key issues of transparency, key issues of competitiveness, and the issue of doing due diligence. That is according to the procurement laws. So, Honorable Speaker, I second this report, as I also indicate that EPRA seems to have a very huge mandate in this country. And so we must also find a way of enhancing EPRA, and the EPRA itself has to enhance itself by broadening its strategies so that they are able to reach the old nation. Honorable Speaker, I second.
Senator Kisang, take your seat. Or take the nearest seat next to you. Now, Honorable Senators, I now propose the question that the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee on Energy on inquiry into the shortage of smart energy meters in Kenya and the potential for their local manufacturing laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 11th of June, 2025. Now, members, this motion and report is therefore available for debate, and I will call upon Senator Samson Cherargei to make his contributions to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to make a comment. You have said rightly on this report on the inquiry of the shortage of smart energy meters and possibility of local manufacturing. While I commend the Vice Chair of Energy and the membership, they have done well on the second question, but they have not given us headway on the first aspect. Because the issue was to give us the aspect of shortage, the legality, and viability, whether there was violation of the law in terms of public procurements processes, Mr. Speaker, sir. So on part 2, I agree with them as a country that we must look at the local manufacturing. And Mr. Speaker, the committee has hesitated to point out that the award of this company called Harry Barry, like Halle Berry of a tender worth 2.9 billion in the supply of smart meters. From the reading of the reports and from the interactions of minutes and meetings that has been done by the committee, Mr. Speaker, sir, it looks like this was a direct procurement contrary to the law. Mr. Speaker, this award of 2.9, only the reasoning that the stakeholders appeared before the committee was because Halle Burnley, Mr. Speaker, award of 2.9 billion smart tender was because they had it in their warehouse. Mr. Speaker, the reading of Article 227(1) of the Constitution is very clear on public procurement. And it is very clear that that is procurement of public goods and services. Article 271, when a state organ or any other public entity contracts for goods and services or services, it shall do so in accordance with the system that is fair, equitable, transparent, competitive, and cost. Therefore, and in fact, some of us, I would have requested the committee, these are classic cases of corruption. Because the work of awarding of smart meter tenders was done by the ministry through supplies and change, Mr. Speaker, by Kenya, instead of Kenya Power. It was done by State Department for Energy. And we are aware energy, this was a clear case of corruption. Because in fact, instead of Kenya Power and Lighting Company doing the award of the tender, it went ahead and used State Department of Energy, Mr. Speaker, to procure, which is a clear violation of the law. Article 227(1) is very clear that it must be transparent, it must be cost effective, it must, and looking at the committee proceedings, Mr. Speaker, the award to Halle Berry, Mr. Speaker, is not very clear. It looks like this was corruption, Mr. Speaker, and even you read at the report when Kenya Power and Lighting Company appeared, they justified that because they wanted to open and decentralize the award of smart meters in the country, be single phase or three phase, Mr. Speaker, they must now allow other people to do it. That is how it is done, Mr. That is how corruption is done. Because if Kenya Power and Lighting Company did not give award, and as per the law, but the State Department of Energy went ahead to give out without any legal recourse, Mr. Speaker, is a clear violation of Article 2271, Mr. Speaker, and even Article and the Public Procurement and Disposal Act as provided by the law. And myself, I want to request the committee through the Vice Chair, although he's technically the Chair, Senator Kisang, to further investigate these 2.9 billion. To me, if it works, quacks, smiles, or crackle, Mr. Speaker, if that's a dark, Mr. Speaker. That's a dark for us, it is corruption, Mr. Speaker. So we must be told these 2.9 billion, and it is important that I want to thank the committee, Mr. Speaker, because they even provided how the various companies that had been given award to supply smart meter, Mr. Speaker, in this report. They have gone ahead and indicated that these are the number of meters that have been given, Mr. Speaker, in their reports. Even when you look at their report, Mr. Speaker, they have highlighted that a number of them, so there is no justification of direct procurement or a direct award of 2.9 billion under the State Department of Energy instead of KPLC as usual award tenders, and that is page 15. When you look at page 15, Mr. Speaker, you can see the summary of 4 farms with tender supply 7,111,740 meters with a contract of 2-year period of single phase, Mr. Speaker, and these amounts to around 7,011,740 smart meters. Like Smart Meter Technology Limited was given 314,440, Magnet Ventures Limited was given 164,500, in Himita Africa Company Limited 128,000, Yohashin Group Limited was given 104,800, Mr. Speaker. So the report has gone itself to justify that they were companies that were competitively awarded. But we don't know what is special about Burnley Halle Company Limited, that it was given a tender of 2.9 billion. Mr. Speaker, this does not look right. And while I agree with the recommendations of the committee on the other aspects, they must tell us, you know, Mr. Speaker, corruption, if you don't follow the law, and you are a senior practitioner of the law, you cannot regularize an irregularity without following due rest of the law. Even if State Department of Energy would say today they was cost effective, they didn't lose any money. But the fact that there was an irregular process of acquiring public goods, contrary to Article 2271, Mr. Speaker, some of us would think otherwise. And therefore, I want to appeal to the Senator Kesang, the mover and the vice chair of that committee, to still look at this aspect of 2.9 billion that was specifically awarded to this company. Yet he had indicated that there were other 4 farm companies that had been indicated. So Speaker, this is a fairly quick report, and then even committee, they have raised a number of procurement processes. I think we don't. I agree there could be quality and quantity issues that was raised in Burnley and warehouse, but how this thing, the process on how it was awarded, some of us, Mr. Speaker, and you know the issue of Kenya Power. We had a few years ago, there was a scandal of smart meters where there was allegation that smart meters or meters of Kenya Power and Lighting Company and even water companies through non-revenue of collection waters had been tampered with. And you remember a few years, it was you and cry when Kenya Power and Lighting Company, Mr. Speaker, were raising the aspect of doctoring or tampering with the meters of Kenya Power and Lighting, Mr. Speaker, where we're having illegal connection of electricity in some of these places. Mr. Speaker, this has caused a lot of loss. It has caused non-performance in terms of Kenya Power and Lighting. While we say Kenya Power and Lighting has a lot of challenges, Mr. Speaker, I know maybe Bomet is a bit better. I went to a place in Kipsamoite. The Kenya Power brought a transformer. For the last 4 years, they have never replaced or made it functional, Mr. Speaker. So while we appreciate Kenya Power and Lighting have a lot of challenges, you see poles, you see contractors, Mr. Speaker, you see electricity being supplied, but Kenya Power and Lighting do not provide smart meters in time or generators, Mr. Speaker. And of course, the frequent blackouts. I have had a discussion with many businessmen and women in this country, because this issue of smart meters boils down also to the functionality of Kenya Power and Lighting Company. That one of the biggest threats to ease of doing business in Kenya is the frequent blackouts by Kenya Power and Lighting Company. And Mr. Speaker, you know, in the past, when we used to have what we call electricity rationing, it was because of it is dry season. Because most of our power is generated through hydroelectricity, Mr. Speaker. So but now it is raining, there is El Nino coming on the way, Mr. Speaker. This should not be the reason that there is instability of power in this country. And that is why even a few months ago or a few weeks ago, Mr. Speaker, we were pushing that we need to diversify. We need to bring the issue of solar energy. We need to bring even the issue of nuclear energy. I know there is one that is supposed to be set up in Siaya County, for example, so that we can ensure there is stability. And Mr. Speaker, the cost of electricity is also quite unsustainable. And I want to thank the President through the Ministry of Energy. I saw they stood down an increment of cost of electricity through the Ministry of Energy, and that was impressive. We want to say that will go a long way in terms of domestic and industrial use, so that we don't discourage the usage. So my final comment on this procurement of 2.9 billion smart meters to the specific company, to me reading this committee, this is a direct procurement contrary to the law, contrary to the Constitution, contrary to Public Procurement Disposal Act, and contrary to Public Finance and Management Act of the Republic of Kenya. On the issue of local manufacturing, I agree. Mr. Speaker, we have Tattoo City, we have Konza. Why should we procure, you know, Mr. Speaker, the other day we were arguing that we are even importing pencils and rubbers. These are things, Mr. Speaker, matchsticks, these smart meters, many things. There is Konza cities, Mr. Speaker. And I know the vision of His Excellency the President is quite clear, it's crystal clear. Even as he goes around the world to look for partners, he was in Belgium, today is Norway, Mr. Speaker, in Oslo. I know probably in the coming weeks he's among the only Africanists of there to attend G20 meeting hosted in France by President Macron to look for partners. And I know the intention of the President is to operationalize CIPes, County Integrated and County Industrial and Aggregation Parks. This will allow the aggregation, the issue of industrialization, the cottage industry, Mr. Speaker. I agree with the committee that we must boost our, it is imperative, Mr. Speaker, to import smart meters into this country. We can do better, Mr. Speaker. In the 90s, although I was still very, very young, if you read the history of this country, there is what we call Nyayo era manufacturing of vehicles. In 90s, if Kenya had gone ahead and even thought of manufacturing a vehicle called Nyayo, Mr. Speaker, you know, we should be by far being the mega industry hub in Eastern Central Africa, Mr. Speaker. So by 90s, we were doing Nyayo vehicles, and now we can't even produce smart meters for usage in our electricity. Mr. Speaker, it will continue to amber even the supply of rural electricity. The last mile connectivity that His Excellency the President, I am happy in Nandi, for example, we got more than 1.3 billion for all Nandi County to supply the last mile connectivity electricity. But every household needs those smart meters so that we don't have cases where Kenya and Power and Lighting do not make losses courtesy of non-availability. So, and we have universities, Mr. Speaker. You remember even during the laptop issue, I think Moi University was given the lead to manufacture the laptop issues, Mr. Speaker. Even I wish that Bomet University, where you come from, should be a hub of manufacturing of smart meters, Mr. Speaker. Because Bomet people are technologically advanced. I'm saying with this in mind with the Mulot. If you get people who are doing what they are doing in Mulot, for example, in Bomet, your county, Mr. Speaker, it looks those people are smart naturally. If they can do their things up there and fix one or two, it is not for us to fix smart meters at Bomet University in your own county. Of course, we have more university, we have KU, we have the University of Nairobi, Mr. Speaker. So I don't see the need why we should still import smart meters into this country. And even, Mr. Speaker, as we manufacture smart meters, we must tie up with the issue of eco-friendly, the issue of environmental preservation and conservation, so that, and EPRA, Mr. Speaker, they need also to up their game, because in the report, the energy EPRA lacked approved standards for smart meters. So how can they be importing? How do we know that the smart meters meet the standard? If the EPRA, and I know EPRA is facing a lot of challenges, especially after that scandal of fuel issues, fuel adulteration, pricing of fuel, I think EPRA, many Kenyans should know that EPRA goes beyond only regularization of prices. They have an obligation to ensure that they give us standards and also ensure, Mr. Speaker, evaluation and monitoring mechanisms to ensure the quality of meters that is being supplied in the market meets certain thresholds. EPRA committed to ensure that they follow up on those issues, Mr. Speaker, so that we can, and the beauty of manufacturing, Mr. Speaker, as I said, that the issue of CIPes in counties, the President trying to look for partners across the country, is also, apart from stability in supply, they will ensure there is employment opportunities, Mr. Speaker, especially for the young people. You and me agree that there is a population explosion. In the 80s and 70s, there was what we call baby boom in America, Mr. Speaker. I think what we are seeing in Kenya is now what we call baby boom, Mr. Speaker. Even after the family planning, Mr. Speaker, that happened in the early 90s, Kenyans continue to follow the tenets of the book of Genesis, where God say, go ye and fill the world. And I think that is what Kenyans are doing, because I was looking at Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, Mr. Speaker. I saw average in my own county is 4 children by household. When you go to northern Kenya, it's 6 children per household, Mr. Speaker. And of course, because of the nature of the religion of Islamic faith, you can imagine 4, they allowed 4 wives, times 6. That is quite a number. Although in my culture, you and my culture, we don't count the number of children. That is 24 children, Mr. Speaker. And if you divorce and get other 4, you can imagine. So what we are facing is that we are facing an explosion of population, which are the young people. And that is why you see them restless. Most of them are learned. They know what should be done, but they don't get the opportunities. And I think as a nation, we want to thank the president. The issue of Nyota has really gone a long way in the issue of Asla Fund, Mr. Speaker. The issue of gas in Maju. In fact, as Nandi County, we are proud, and I saw somebody chiding us that most of our community where you and come are in Australia. And we don't apologize because we value Kasimaju. And Mr. Speaker, the naysayers who chide some of us, are they aware that the foreign exchange income from our children in Australia, from across the country, is approaching 1 trillion Kenyan shillings? In fact, it has gone ahead, coffee, tea, many things, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, what our children are, so the ones who remain, we must ensure that there is manufacturing potential to absorb our young people. Let us develop our young people, Mr. Speaker, so that we can ensure that we go to process. Mr. Speaker, finally, to my comments, corruption in this country starts through the budget and procurement. That is when corruption is being organized. So if the tendering and procurement process is tampered with, then it is corruption, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I am happy that the committee has said within 3 months, within 6 months, within 6 months, 3 months, there should be a report on what really happened on this award of 2.9 billion, Mr. Speaker. And the procurement process and tendering within Kenya Power and Lighting in the acquisition of smart meters at the end of adoption of these reports, Mr. Speaker, the 6 months, the 3 months, Mr. Speaker, we should know that how these aspects of. So I agree with the committee. Let us get report. We don't have an implementation committee, but I hope the energy committee can sit and do that follow-up. On the issue of local manufacturing and industry development, Mr. Speaker, in the 12 months, the National Treasury and NITA and also National NITA, we have now, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I know my time is fast spent. We're having now TVETs. I saw one of, I don't know, there is one TVET in your county that is appearing in the national budget that is being budgeted for. Even in Nandi, we have Lesos National Polytechnic, we have Kaiboy. We should transform these TVETs as up of manufacturing, Mr. Speaker. We should use them, Mr. Speaker, so that our young people can learn from there. So, and I hope, Senator Kisang, when you get the feedback report, they should tell us how the National Treasury is integrating with Technical University of Kenya and Technical TVET. I know you have been a member of parliament in CDF and you have built a number of TVET institutions in Marakwet West constituency. You should be able to give us the link and how, now that Mr. Speaker, every constituency, including your constituency, Palungu, have 1 or 2 TVET centers. And they have a number of children. Why don't we transform those to be the hub of manufacturing so that we are like China, Mr. Speaker? That is how China has become a powerhouse, through manufacturing, everything, Mr. Speaker. And in conclusion, you know, in China, I like Chinese. When you have 20 shillings, they can do something for you for 20 shillings. When you have 1,000, they can do for 1,000. To Kenya for powers in Africa and the world, we must go to the manufacturing way, Mr. Speaker. With those very many remarks, allow me to say I support this report and hope for faster implementation after the adoption. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
Honorable Senators, from the dashboard here, I do not have any other member keen on making contributions. I'll call upon Senator Kisang to reply.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply and want to take this opportunity to thank the members of the committee because that's a fairly old report, close to a year now, and we went round to the local manufacturers and even those who basically do the import of raw materials and assemble. And I want to agree with what Senator Jararke has said and thank him, and also Senator Okola, because, Honorable Speaker, in that particular report, we have given recommendations and timelines when the government agencies are supposed to report back to this House and give us what they have done. Because what we have said, we need local manufacturing. Already in the ICT subsector, Honorable Speaker, conductors basically, and also the small chips are being manufactured now by Dadan Kimada University in Nyeri. Assembly of laptops and devices are being done by Mo University through basically the former Rivertex and also Dadan Kimada University. So this Kenya Power and IBRA needs to come with this standard so that our national polytechnics and also the debates, as Senator Jerogea has said, they need to partner and manufacture, because it's not something, you don't need to have done basically serious physics to manufacture this particular smart meters. It's very, very easy to assemble. This is something that we used to do when we were in high school, in science congress, but I don't know why it has taken so long. And Honorable Speaker, in that particular report also we want EACC. As soon as this report is adopted, we want EACC to move with speed and investigate this 2.9 billion tender that was awarded by Public Works, by an old 1950-something law. I don't know why they should have done, if they wanted, they should have done restricted tendering or selective or an open tender as the law provides, Honorable Speaker. But you know, when we were investigating, it was very difficult to get anything out of those we spoke to. And this particular company, Barre, we did not even locate their offices. So basically, it's a classical corruption case that requires EACC to move speed and put people in, Honorable Speaker, because it's unfair that Kenyans they lost 2.9 billion instead of basically getting proper meters at proper prices competitively. Because if it was an open tender, the prices would have been lower than that, 9 for single phase and 15 million for three phase. Should have been maybe 5 and 8. So I hope KPLC is listening, and they also ensure, as members have said, there are a shortage of meters, both smart and even manual meters, Honorable Speaker. And some schools have gone for several years. They already have installations. There are transformers within the schools and the communities on the last mile connectivity, but there are no meters. So they cannot energize. Otherwise, you know, this is also an opportunity for Kenyans to connect illegally if there are no meters. So they need to move with speed and ensure they procure smart meters en masse, Honorable Speaker. Check, there are several houses that are coming up. And without smart meters, without even meters, they'll not be able to enjoy. Honorable Speaker, there's also a danger here because of, for the last few years, we have not gone into power generation. There is likelihood very soon to be shed loading because we don't have enough power. Because currently, as we stand, it's about 23 or 24 megawatts, Honorable Speaker. And the consumption is very close. So basically, if there is anything small, basically, there'll be a power rationing in the country. So we need to encourage both local investors and international investors to come in and generate power so that we can have sufficient power. I'm happy that at least Siaya County have agreed to set up and generate basically power using nuclear in that part of the world, because initially Kilifi had been earmarked to generate power using nuclear power, but there was a lot of misinformation until they resisted. But they'll regret later on in life that they'll have lost an opportunity, because within where the generation of power will be done, there'll be a lot of opportunities, there'll be a lot of work, and then there'll be a lot of development within that area. Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply and request that, understanding of the 66.3, Honorable Speaker, the question, putting of the question be deferred to the next sitting. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
All right, Honorable.